Hello, everybody, and welcome to our adult Sabbath School lesson. Today we are looking into Lesson 7, The Problem of Evil. I'm here with Pastor Sasha, Arena, and you're here with me, Monique. I want to start off by reading an excerpt from the lesson itself that really caught my eye. And I'm going to lead me into my question for you, Pastor Sasha. In brief terms, if God is all good and all powerful, why is there evil, and so much of it too? This is not merely an academic problem, but something that deeply troubles many people and that keeps some from coming to know and love God. So it all starts, for me, with treating it like an academic problem, because that's what I used to treat evil as an academic problem, something that I could learn myself out of just by reading more and just trying harder to be better, which I hit a wall eventually. So I want to ask you, where did I go wrong?
Well, it's interesting that you are telling me about that you were trying to read it as an academic problem. Mm-hmm. I thought only myself was too academic.
Yeah, because I treat it as the knowledge of good and evil. I was like, okay, if I just know more good, then I will know less evil. But that, no, didn't work.
Not sure if it works very well. I don't know if you'll agree with me. But I think if a child is protected from knowing about the existence of evil, eventually he will learn about this, or she will learn about this, and it may be some bad consequences, at least let's put it this way. Back when I was at school, we knew about everything. We knew about drunkenness, drug addiction, sex, prostitution. We knew, not that we experienced all of the things God, but we definitely knew about this. And we kind of got used to its existence. Of course, I wasn't growing up a believer. I remember a friend of mine, and her mom was my music teacher, and she was a classmate of mine. And we knew her as a very nice intellectual, but in a way, she was a bit naive.
Okay.
She, what we knew, she sometimes didn't know until she did.
Right.
When in the college she changed, and I began to learn about God and accepted Jesus. It was my almost fourth years of the university. So my first couple of years, I just were secular, whatever, but we observed her because we kept connection throughout, we studied in different universities, but we kept connection. And it's like all these things which were not, for children, because back in the, let's put it this way. In the secular world, I was raised by a secular, parents. And the only way to explain why you can't have it, you're too young for this.
Right.
It's, it's like only when I became a Christian, then I've learned that, finding a girl and just going and having a sex with her is a sin against God. But if, as a believer, I'm adult enough to do this.
Right.
Right. So that's the secular thinking back in my days. I don't know about today. But the friend of mine, she just went so into it. She drank from this adult. She felt herself as an adult, and from the stuff which was adult, she drank like from fire hydrant.
Yeah, yeah. It's like even like as simple as our laws. Like once you're 18, okay, then you can do all these things, even if it's bad for you. Once you're 21, now you can do all of these things, even things that are like literally bad for you.
Right.
And so it bleeds into society. It's a societal norm.
But in your opinion, you both grew with in Christian environment, right? Were you aware of things which non-Christian, or were you shielded?
I would say I was personally shielded.
Oh, you were shielded
As like a
huh?
defense, like a similar kind of thing, like because my mom was the believer in the family, so she kind of created a hedge. She justified it with belief, but it was more of a hedge, not so much like a schoolhouse where she would teach me these things, but just be like, this is what you do, this is what you don't do, these are the boundaries, and then that's it. Like it was very baseline. So when I started to spend more time with people outside of that hedge, then like I didn't have any core beliefs in myself. I just had the kind of like a list of rules, like laws. So pretty much to me, I'm just like, well, and now I know that I'm choosing wrong, but I'm old enough to make that choice type of a thing. Because like my mom wasn't watching my back anymore because I kind of grew out of it.
Praise God. Were you shielded, Arina?
I feel like I wasn't. I would say my parents and grandparents thought they shielded me more than they did. Because growing up back in Russia, you learn so much more in school than you do in the United States. You're exposed to so many more things.
Oh, yeah. Isn't it?
Because like on the street, you learn a lot more there than I feel like most kids here.
Oh,
Here you almost have to look for it sometimes.
Yeah, you do. You have to go looking
rather
for bad.
than back there where you just passing by and you
it's
witness
there.
things happen.
That's exactly a similar experience.
Exactly. Though I was raised with a very high standard of morale, especially by my grandma, because I spent a lot of time with her as a kid, and she really put a lot of those values, like drilled them into my head.
Your grandma is the woman of values.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why when I did see those things, it didn't even cross my mind that, oh no, that's just wrong. It was just that. There was no doubt in my head ever that certain things are just not right. I would see, like, let's say somebody I know, I would catch them smoking, I'd be like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah.
Probably not hanging out with you again.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, why? And I'm like, well, I just don't want to be around you if you're going to do that.
Yeah. So you kind of just knew it was bad, and like from your grandma.
Right.
For me, I just like knew it was like a sin. So like it wasn't like moral code. It was just like a code of beliefs, which is like really
I see.
interesting. Yeah. Which I think I almost would have appreciated that more, because that's what I had to now develop my own code of morals, growing in and out and like type of stuff like that, you know.
I see.
But yeah, having it taught to you, I think, is
It's
interesting
like
too.
It's like, to me, it's like like secondary smoke. I never liked smoking. I didn't smoke. I've tried. When I was 7, didn't like it and never wanted to try again. Even though...
When you were 7?
Yeah, my cousin tried...
Soviets for you.
My cousin...
I like went off my head for a second.
See, you were shielded a lot.
Yes, I was shielded. I was shielded because it was like...
My cousin stole cigarettes from his dad, and we went to the river, and he said, let's try it. So he let me take a puff. I didn't like. He did, and he was laughing at me that I was kind of a wimp, and I didn't, and quitter, because he didn't. Well, poor guy, he did smoke for a long time before he quit, and I'm so glad that I was a quitter.
Yes, literally.
In this, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like how it feels. But the reason why I asked this question is that it seemed, I don't know, when people are shielded, I kind of predict during the school years, completely shielded that they don't even know that this exists. So when they become independent adults, then when they encounter it, they either are shocked by it because they didn't know it even exists, or they embrace it full-heartedly.
Right.
Yeah, so, but going back to the Bible, the reason why, God is good, but there is evil, it's a twofold answer. So let's start with the book of Job. And the book of Job has two parts to it.
Okay.
One part is actually the description of what Job himself went through when he had this dialogue with his so-called friends who were trying to catch him and lead him to admit that he might have sinned somehow. But the second part of the book of Job, and it most likely was written by Moses, it's the chapter 1 and chapter 2. And there, it's much easier to read the excerpts from that. When you go to, let's go to Job chapter 1, and let's read verses 6 through 11.
One day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came with them. The Lord said to Satan, "Where have you come from?" Satan answered the Lord, "From roaming through the earth, going back and forth on it." Then the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" Satan replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You have blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face."
Yeah, so you see how the situation is. You have angels, and one of them is in Hebrew Ha-Satan, which is in English it's the rebellious one. The rebellious one. So the way how he poses the question, right? What's the main catch and the main, I would say, trickery in the question that he asked God?
He almost blames God for Job being perfect. Because it sounds like he's trying to set God up by saying, well, you've done everything for him to be this way. You've, as you say, parents do, you just shielded him so much. He's untouchable. So no wonder he is so great.
Yeah, definitely.
I like that you bring this shielded idea. But besides what you said, Irina, there is very, very, the key treachery in this question is this. Do you think he really loves you?
Yeah,
You're paying him
literally.
to love. And that,
Bribery, literally, yeah. You bought his love.
yeah, and that's like, this is evil. There are different marriages, and I've seen some marriages that fell apart, or, in a very, it got really miserable situation. Basically, he was a wealthy individual, and he found a beautiful girl and attracted her by his wealth. He gave gifts and things like this, and she basically fell for that, not for him.
Right.
And what happens is this individual, and it's very frequent, they learn, okay, she doesn't love me. She loves gifts. And she does it because she loves gifts. So it's kind of, and if he loves her, not just because there are some who just buy and then they buy another one and then they buy another one, but sometimes it's the opposite. And I've met I have a friend who actually, this was terrible, divorce, awful, but such a abuse. She abused his love because he loved her, and she abused because that's what she was with him for.
Right.
And so this is why the reason why I bring this up, because Satan's question to God was very, very for God, I can see it was very painful, because I can find some girl and say, okay, I give you $1 million, you marry this guy.
Right.
Right. That's like a common movie trope too. Not only to marry this person, or I'll give you this money to leave this person, or stuff like that. Money and wealth and things like that are used as a manipulation tool.
Correct. But what I wanted to say is this. She can fall for $1 million and marry this guy. I can offer her $1 billion, but she's not going to be able to love him.
Right.
You cannot buy love with anything. It's just it's a choice. You can't make, the first and foremost commandment. It's a little bit duplicitous here. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart. But you can't really command. Thou shalt not kill? Yeah, sure I won't. Thou shalt not steal? Sure I won't. Thou shalt not commit adultery? Sure I won't. Thou shalt love? Oops.
Yeah.
It's in here and in here. It's not yes, sir.
Right.
It's not going to work.
What he's posing against him, and that's, I guess, his angle, that he's trying to show that God doesn't, or that God's
didn't
buying.
earn it.
Yeah, right. So as it goes even a little bit further, is it that he doesn't understand that Satan has more power than he realizes? Does Satan not understand that Job is living on planet Earth, and God doesn't, he has dominion and he has agency and he has a lot of ways that he protects Job, but he's not sitting there pulling the strings. Is he assuming that God's pulling all the strings? Because I think, does Satan not get who Satan is? Does he not know the power that he has on Earth too? To manipulate the same way he always does and has?
Well, the key point is love is the greatest example of freedom of choice.
Okay.
Because there's a big debate. Do we have freedom of choice? Do we not have a freedom of choice? Love, you cannot fake it. You can do anything else by being coerced to do, but you cannot be coerced to love. I can be coerced to keep the Sabbath, but it doesn't coerce me to love God. Unfortunately, there are many people who keep the Sabbath out of whatever motives, but not because they just love God and they want to be with Him. But for God, it's important the motivation is important. You know, God doesn't want us to do something just out of fear. He wants us to do it out of love. And this is the foundation of this big conflict which leads to the existence of evil. So this is the dimensions that we know. Because Job, when he suffers, he doesn't know what happened in heaven. God never informs him. It is kind of interesting. God never informs him about what happened. You know, it's not like finally you know that in Job chapter 38, finally God grants the wish of Job for meeting, and so they have personal meeting. And so all these chapters, 38, 39, 40, and 41, this is a big speech of God, and it's directly, God is speaking directly to Job and supposedly answering his question, but probably not how he expected that.
Right, because then I'm even curious, too, about 38:4, where...
Yeah.
Is that where you're going to? Okay. Yeah. God's speaking to him, and he says, "Where wast thou when I laid the foundations of the earth? Declare if thou hast understanding." So now back to this understanding. Like how you were saying how you're an academic. I, too, am an academic. I used to read books for fun. So it's like I really saw it that way. Understanding, knowledge. And I mean, now when you break down the word of knowledge, especially in the term of Genesis, you understand that it's more of like an experience, participation, like an act. But you can't get away from the fact that they did use words like knowledge and understanding. They use these academic terms. Correct. So it's like now, here we are back again at understanding. So what? Yeah,
this is the answer.
Okay.
Think about this. Why wouldn't it be easier? I'm pretty sure you've read at some point in your life, these chapters of Job is not the easiest book to read, but you read it,
mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you? Wouldn't be interested for you? Or would you ever wonder, why wouldn't just God come to Job, give him a big hug and say, "Listen, I had this conversation in heaven, and this is what he said to me, and this is what I did."
Because then Job would blame him.
Would he?
I would.
It's a good.
I mean, some would. Maybe not me. But like, I'd be a little frustrated, especially after you went through all of that just to end up in the same spot. It kind of just seems like a lot happened in vain at his expense.
No, I totally understand that, but that's like we're talking about Job.
I mean, I guess he's a righteous man.
So that's what I mean. Would he though?
True. I'm not a righteous man. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
someone out there would. But maybe not him.
God is not explaining any of it to Job.
Right.
And there is a reason. He starts with, have you been when I built the foundation of the earth?
Obviously not.
True.
It's a very, very interesting concept. What God wants Job to think is like this. Take a look at Matthew 18.
Okay. Matthew 18, 1-4. At that time the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who then is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" He called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, Truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.
So, why suddenly Jesus compares the ones who are part of the kingdom of heaven with children? What's in children that Jesus uses this example?
Naivety?
Blind
Yes, but is the kingdom of heaven for naive?
No. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe more of a, like a blind faith. Like, just a very trusting.
Aha.
The love,
Yeah.
the unconditional love.
Yeah. Even though, like, I think,
I'm not sure.
because that's where my mind is, like, going. Because, like, they'll love no matter what. Even if somebody's, like, hurting them, like,
Yeah.
kids there's nothing that can stop them from going after somebody, wanting to be with somebody who.
It's kind of interesting. I don't remember, learning to love parents is not like, I don't think a baby who is, in the crib knows to love mother.
I guess, no. But they know to be with her.
They know to trust.
To depend.
They know to depend, and they know to trust for sure.
I guess, yeah. So love is still a choice.
Even 3-year-old, even 5-year-old. I mean, do you remember yourselves at the age of 3? Probably not.
I
but
didn't get
let's say
sentient till
5.
4. Yeah.
4 or 5. Okay, yeah, that's probably. So, how much did you understand about your parents when you were at that age?
They're two people. They're taller than me.
Yeah, no, they were huge. Yeah. Yeah.
In other words, maybe it would be incorrect, but it's like, do you remember the moment you were pulled out of your mother's womb?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. That's for sure. So there is a huge difference of experience. It was a kind of a privilege and interesting experience what happened when Jacob was born, and I was first to hold him when they, as soon as he came out, they gave him to me, and then they, wiped out, what is it called? The stuff, and he was, and they had to suction out this liquid
Mucus.
or mucus. Yeah, that's what it is. And he, and then I gave him to Irina afterwards. But it was our experience as the parents. Does he know about this? Does he know what we felt?
Yeah.
No way. Of course, you can't expect to know, we don't know ourselves. But this is exactly what God. But there is one thing. There's one thing about the child. When a child like this, even 4 or 5-year-old, when you have problem, what was your expectation of the parents?
Fix.
You trusted that the parents would fix it because, somebody, I don't know, let's say you had to go to pediatrician and they had to give you some kind of a shot and they pricked you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then where do you go? I mean, that your mother carried you into the doctor. You scared of it? Were you scared of a doctor?
Maybe at first, but I do remember that I had the same doctor my whole entire life. I was scared when I had to get a new one. That's what I was scared of. But
very little
probably when I was
children
little,
usually scared of a doctor.
First
but it was
visit
the
or two.
mother who did it.
Yeah. How dare she?
And the shot was administered. It was painful. Where do you go to cry on? On mother's shoulder. So this is how, I mean, we don't know anything about our mothers back at that age, but we cry on her shoulder. We trust she's gonna fix the problem. We trust, and actually we're wired by God to do this. I don't know any child who would be, it's very, I've learned it very interestingly enough, when Jacob was born, my experiences with him as a baby were kind of interesting, because I've seen other babies, and babies have a good understanding of parents versus strangers. Even 4 months old baby knows strangers. Not every baby likes strangers.
So then what does that mean for Job then in chapter 38?
For Job, what God is telling me, hey, it's very difficult for you to imagine and to really, the same way as you haven't been when I created this earth, and you don't know, it's very difficult for you to imagine. All you know is what I'm telling you. So when God is saying to Job, hey, unless I told you what happened when I created this earth, you don't know. Unless our parents told us when were we born, how would we know? We were not able to witness our own birth. We were not able to conscientiously remember what was happening. Mom said, we had complication and I had to take C-section. How would we remember that? We didn't know. We were not in control. So the point is, and that's a good illustration. So here is mom suffering. Okay, they had to take her for C-section. There was all kinds of complications, and you were in this picture. You are part of this picture. It was because you were born. She was given birth to you. That's why it was happening. But you don't know. You cannot do anything. So what happens is, let's take a look at the very, very end of how the book of Job actually ends. Take a look at Job chapter 42. And let's take a look at verse 10.
After Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before.
Who fixes Job's problem?
God.
God. So while we do know academically, and when you mention it, academically we know, here was a Satan. Satan is very trickery. Satan put a very painful question to God. God made a choice to answer this question the way he answered. So basically, this Job is a mini picture, how evil was permitted, because I know many people, many believers and non-believers would ask, why, if God is so omnipotent, why has he permitted that? So God permitted this thing to happen to Job, and God did not explain to Job what happened and why he permitted it. What he pointed to Job is, I fixed it. And so this is another example of how God how even Job believes that God can fix this problem. Take a look at Job 19:25 through 27.
Job 19:25 through 27. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. After my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes.
Yeah. So after his skin is destroyed, because that's what he's having, this debilitating skin boils and sores. So he sees his skin is being destroyed. He's suffering tremendously. I'll see him in my flesh. So he trusts that God will fix it. God did not explain to him what happened, because he just said, there are many details of this which you cannot understand. So we cannot understand why God made a decision to allow Satan to do what he did. That's the same way. We cannot understand. We know about Satan, but we may not fully understand today why God permits Hitler and other evil people to come to power and stuff like this. You know, we will spend 1,000 years in heaven to try to understand it, and I believe we will come to the full conclusion that this was the best decision under the circumstances, but it will take significant time for us up there in heaven to realize it. But what God teaches us through the book of Job is that understanding the reason for our sufferings will not help us and will not fix them. Only God can fix them.
Okay. Well, with that, knowing that the answer, which is God, and that God is a solution, is greater and bigger than the problem of evil and why there's evil, is the best way to conclude. Thank you so much for the time you spent with us here today. And if you agree, please leave it down in the comments. And if you disagree, we would love to hear it. Let's start a discussion. Let's share the video and expand this topic more and more to more ideas, more thoughts, and more people. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit that bell notification so you don't miss the next one, and we'll see you next time.